This is you. Your phone just buzzed at 2:47 a.m. with a single word from an unknown number. Address. No name. No context. No explanation needed. You've been in this business long enough to know that when the message comes at this hour, somebody made a catastrophic mistake. And your job is to make sure that mistake never existed. You pull up to a mid-century house in a quiet suburb that smells like money and secrets. The kind of neighborhood where nobody calls the police because everybody has something to hide. A man in an Italian suit meets you at the door with sweaty palms and desperate eyes. Amateur eyes. He's trying to hold it together, but his hands are shaking bad enough to rattle the ice in his drink. He walks you inside and there it is, the problem, sprawled across genuine Carrara marble in the kitchen. Mid-40s, male. 2 shots, center mass, clean grouping. Someone who knew what they were doing pulled that trigger, but clearly panicked afterward and called someone who didn't. That's where you come in. You set your kit down without a word and put on your gloves. The suit starts talking, explaining, justifying. You cut him off with a look that could freeze nitrogen. You don't want the backstory. You don't want the names. You don't want the emotional breakdown he's clearly been building up to for the last 3 hours. You want the address of every room this person touched, every surface they contacted, every exit they used. Everything else is none of your business, and knowing it makes it your problem. This is the job. Not a hitman. Not muscle. Not a fixer in the Hollywood sense. A cleaner is something older than all of that. A craftsman. A specialist. The last line between someone's catastrophic lapse in judgment and total institutional collapse. You've been doing this for 11 years. In that time, you've worked 3 continents, 4 cartels, 2 rogue intelligence operations, and 1 situation involving a sitting cabinet minister that you will take to your grave. You don't advertise. You don't have a business card. You exist entirely in whisper networks between people who have too much to lose. The process is methodical and merciless. You start with luminol because blood is the world's most dishonest liquid. It hides in grout lines, seeps under baseboards, and laughs at a basic cleanup job. The suit watches you work and makes the mistake of saying this looks like something from a crime show. You don't bother responding. Crime shows exist to comfort civilians. What you're doing right now is the reason crime shows get the details wrong on purpose. You document everything before you touch it. Angles, positions, trajectory. Not because you're sentimental, but because you need to understand the physics of what happened to fully reverse it. You've seen amateurs move a body before understanding the blood pool pattern and turn a manageable situation into a forensic nightmare. Rookie mistake, one that cost a very powerful man in Sao Paulo 17 years in prison because the cleaner he hired learned the job on the internet. The body goes into a polymer containment bag, military grade, odor sealed, the kind that doesn't exist in any consumer catalog. The marble gets a specific acid treatment that won't damage the stone, but destroys every biological marker at the molecular level. The walls get a UV reactive compound painted over them in a 3-foot radius from the impact points. You'll strip it on the way out. The suit watches all of this with the expression of a man renegotiating his relationship with God. You've seen that face 1,000 times. By morning, he'll have convinced himself it was a dream. 2 hours in, you hit the complication. There always is one. A neighbor's Ring camera covers 12 feet of the front walk. More than enough to have caught the suit's car arriving earlier tonight. This is why you do a perimeter sweep before you commit to anything. You don't panic. Panic is for people who haven't planned for this. You already have a device in your kit, a small signal disruptor that creates a localized loop in consumer-grade cloud cameras within a 40-meter radius. Not a permanent deletion. A 6-hour gap that looks like a firmware glitch. By the time anyone thinks to check that footage, there will be nothing worth checking. The real problem comes at 4:15 a.m. Your phone buzzes again. Different number. Same format. Just a name. A name you recognize. Because it belongs to the person who referred this job to you. And the message after the name is 4 words. He talked to someone. Dead silence. Your brain runs the calculation in under 3 seconds. The suit talked to someone before he called you. That someone is now a loose thread, And loose threads in your profession have exactly one resolution. You look across the kitchen at the man in the Italian suit who is currently on his third drink and staring at the wall. And you understand with the clarity of someone who has made this assessment many times before that the nature of this job just changed. Here's where it gets complicated. You're not a killer. That's not sanctimony. It's professional taxonomy. You clean. Someone else pulls the trigger. That division of labor is the only moral line you've kept in 11 years of erasing evidence that human beings existed. Cross it once and you don't get to uncross it. You become something different. Something with a much shorter life expectancy and a much smaller client list. But the network that feeds you work has one absolute rule. Contamination doesn't leave the scene. And right now, you're being told that contamination already walked out the front door 3 hours ago. The people who sent that message aren't asking for your opinion. They're informing you of an expectation. And people who work at that level don't send second messages. You packed the last of your equipment with the same methodical precision you brought to every other step tonight. The suit is asking you questions now. Nervous, rapid fire, sensing that the temperature in the room shifted without understanding why. You give him the standard exit briefing. Don't discuss this with anyone. Maintain your normal routine for the next 72 hours. Delete every contact you used to reach the referral chain. He nods like a man memorizing instructions in a foreign language. You walk to your car in the gray pre-dawn and sit with the engine off for 60 seconds. In 11 years, you have never once doubted the architecture of your professional life. The lines were clean. The work was finite. You went in. You corrected the error. You left. Nobody died on your watch because your watch started after the dying was already done. Your phone buzzes one more time. An address. 2 miles from where you're sitting. You stare at it for a long moment. Outside, a sprinkler system kicks on somewhere down the block, going through its mechanical routine without knowing or caring about anything happening in the dark around it. Just doing what it was built to do. No choices. No lines. No wait. You think about the 11 years, the continents, the cabinet minister, the version of yourself that decided a long time ago that cleaning up someone else's violence was different from committing it. You think about whether that distinction still means what you told yourself it meant. Your hand hovers over the ignition. The address is still on the screen.